Okay, so it feels like it's been a while since we've actually put a gaming PC build together, and today we're going to fix that because we're going to be using all of this stuff to put together a compact yet still capable gaming PC build. So let's check it out. So for today's build, we're going to give a little love to Micro ATX because sometimes people actually forget about this format, and to be honest, I think it's absolutely fantastic because you can build some pretty compact systems on a pretty decent price range. For the CPU, we're going to go with an Intel one here. This is the Intel Core i5-12600KF, probably one of the best Intel generations in a long time. This is a 10-core processor made up of E cores and P cores, and because it's the F model, it doesn't come with an integrated iGPU, which kind of keeps the costs down a little bit, but this is a great performing CPU all round. But of course, the CPU is an LGA 1700, so we need an LGA 1700 motherboard, and for that, we're going to go for something super budget in the form of this MSI Pro H610M-E. It is a DDR4 motherboard, and of course it's LGA 1700, and they are pretty cheap, to be honest. They're very low on the budget range. You can pick them up for around £60, but they are cost effective, and they're going to offer all of the features that we actually need to get started into PC gaming. Accompanying this little combination here, we've got 32GB of Crucial Pro RAM. Now this is not the fastest memory in the world, but it does look very nice. There isn't any RGB on it, and it's super cheap, so it's again really super cost effective. You can pick up this actual kit for around £50 brand new on Amazon at the moment. Being DDR4 means that they're relatively cheap, but you've still got a lot of performance in there. A lot of people don't seem to like this type of RAM, but I actually find it works perfectly fine, and it gives you lots and lots of RAM for a very low price, so that's a great option for a build like the one we're doing today. Then when it comes to storage, we're going for something very basic in the form of this Crucial P3 NVMe drive. The motherboard supports NVMe, so why not? And 1TB is enough for our operating system, plus a bunch of games. We can always upgrade the storage on a motherboard like this, going for something like SATA, because it does only have one single NVMe slot, but we've got access to up to 4 SATA drives, and that's perfectly fine for any kind of mass storage that you want for your games or any kind of files and that. So that's going to go onto the motherboard too. Now at the heart of every gaming PC, of course, you've got a graphics card, and for that I've gone for this. This is what I think is one of the best budget buys on the market at the moment, particularly the pre-owned market. It is the AMD Radeon RX 6700. It's not the XT model, but it does come with 10GB of VRAM, and it's on the RDNA 2 architecture, so it's reasonably modern, and it's got enough VRAM to be able to get those super modern games running perfectly fine. The one that I've got today is the Paracolor Fighter model, and I will be honest, it's not the best built card in the world. It's very flexible. You've got to be very careful with it. I'm quite surprised that at some point they would have been charging an extreme premium for these, but nowadays you can pick them up for around £200, and I think that's a pretty good bargain really, particularly for the performance you're going to get. Now, to be able to keep this system compact, of course we need a few more things to actually hold things together, and for that we've got to thank some of our friends at Deepcool. I want to send a big thank you to Deepcool for sponsoring today's video and sending across some awesome parts, helping us keep this build in a compact format. For the power supply, they've sent us over the PN650M. That is a 650 watt gold rated power supply, very good quality, and it's going to look amazing in this build. Then we have for the cooler, we actually have an air cooler today. I don't generally build with an air cooler. I tend to use all-in-one coolers, but they've sent this across, and I think it's going to really kind of inspire my passion again for air coolers. It is the AK620 digital, which means it does have a digital display, a twin fan configuration on a twin tower cooler, so it's going to be plenty enough for the CPU that we're using. And they are a little bit on the expensive side for a build like this, but it is something that you can take along into the future. When you upgrade these kind of system in the future, you will be able to take this cooler along with you, and it's going to work perfectly fine. So that is a fantastic option from them. When it comes to the case though, they have sent across the unreleased, as per this video's recording, CH260. It is very similar to their existing CH160, which is an ITX version, but this one supports Micro ATX, and it looks absolutely fantastic too. I will admit this case is a little bit tricky when it comes to tearing it down. The first thing that you need to do is actually remove the front panel, and it's actually held on with some kind of magnets. We just pop the front off there. You can see that the front is actually magnetically connected. It's very strong, so it's not going to fall off, but we do have an internal mesh here and 2 slots here for 120mm fans, so we're going to get plenty of airflow through the front. Then if we just have a look at the front here, to be able to get the rest of the panels off, I did have to actually look into the manual for this because it was super confusing, but once you do, you kind of figure out what's going on. You will need a screwdriver. This is not a toolless case, and if you notice on the front here, there are a few screws. We've got 2 for the back panel here and 2 for the glass panel here. We do need to remove those screws to be able to strip the case down any further. So we'll just remove the 2 from the glass panel side. They're not actually that complex really, but it takes you a while to actually figure out what's going on, particularly with the front being magnetic. You're looking for some kind of catch to take off, but there wasn't anything. You just basically pull it forward. Slide the glass panel forward, and then the glass panel actually comes off the case like that. Then the back panel as well, we also need to remove these other 2 screws from this side. That will give us access to the back panel, and there's some pretty decent space in the back of this case, to be honest. I wasn't 100% sure where the power supply was going to fit on this because I just couldn't see it in any of the pictures. But if we just take the side off like that, we can see that we've got a vented panel on the front here, which is super important when it comes to that power supply. And then the panel just slides off just like that. When it comes to the front panel, we have some more screws to take off, unfortunately. We'll just turn the case around like that. We do have 2 screws at the top here and here that we do need to remove. So we'll remove them, and then if we actually turn the case around, there's another 2 screws to undo to be able to get the top panel off, and then it should just lift and slide out, and we'll see a little bit more about how they've actually constructed this in such a way that it's still really super compact, but we can fit some pretty decent parts in here. So we'll just take these 2 screws out here and here. So that is a total of 8 screws to be able to get this case apart. Not super complex, I suppose, once you know how to do it, but it does kind of baffle you a little bit to begin with. Move them across, and then the front panel will, the top panel will actually just slide off like that. The top panel also has a dust extraction filter in here that is not removable, I don't think. Oh no, you can. So you can remove the one out of the front, so you can take that out if you want to exhaust air through the top and you don't want anything in the way. But if you're drawing air into the top, of course you want to leave that there. And it's got the Deepcool signature square hole in, which is pretty cool. Putting the top down on there, we can take a bit of a deeper look into the case here. Now, as far as the case goes, it is a little bit unique because we do have all of the front I/O on the actual side of the case. It's not on the top, it's not on the front, which probably makes it very well placed for when it's on your desk, because it's literally got to be right next to you to be able to press these buttons. But it does mean that the cabling on the inside has to run all the way around the front. They've actually velcroed it to the front here, and then it's going to go into the back. Hopefully those cables are long enough. I'm assuming that they've actually worked this out and calculated it. Then when it comes to cooling, we've got 2 120mm slots at the front. We have these 2 rails on the top here, which you can fit up to 3 120mm fans or a 360mm all-in-one cooler, which is actually pretty sweet in a case this size. And then of course in the back, we can fit another 120mm fan. So that's actually a total of 3, 4, 5, 6 fans that you can actually install into here. I can't see that there's any placement to be able to put any at the bottom, but that's okay. It's open framed, it's got a dust filter in the bottom, so it's got to be able to get a pretty decent airflow through. Now, when it comes to fitting the motherboard, of course, we've got a space here for a micro ATX board. We've got 4 PCI Express slots at the back, so everything's going to fit perfectly fine there. But when it comes to the power supply, they've done something a little bit weird. The power supply actually has a mounted bracket here on the front. Flip the case over, you can see it. It actually has this mounted bracket here, which is screwed on through the back and hooked. You will mount the power supply into here, and then the cables will run down out the bottom and across. That does mean that it's going to be venting out of the back, or at least the fan's going to be drawing air out in the back and blowing it out the top. That's a little bit weird. I know that it does look okay for the space that you've got and where it's going to go, but they do advertise this case as having the ability to put 2 fans in the back here and here, kind of increasing your fan profile by 2 fans again, but you can't do that because there's a power supply in the way and there's nowhere else to actually stick that power supply. There are no other kind of mounting mechanisms. It's definitely got to go there. So I'm not exactly sure how you would put fans in the back here. Maybe you can fit one at the bottom if you want, but I don't know. I'm not really sure that was well thought out, but it's okay because there's plenty of fan space in the rest of the case anyway. When it comes to the back panel, we do have a panel that's screwed on here where we're going to fit things like SATA SSDs or hard drives, and there's quite a bit of a gap here. It's about an inch gap for cable management, so hopefully cable management goes fine as well. But that's the case. It looks pretty sweet. It's very, very compact, and hopefully it's going to keep all of our build totally shrunk down and looking really cool. So we've got the power supply, we've got the air cooler, we've got all the internal performing parts. It's time now to build ourselves a compact yet capable gaming PC. Now that the system is built, it's turned out absolutely awesome. It is a very small little compact system that will look beautiful on your desk, and I'm super impressed with the Deepcool products that they've sent across to us for a number of reasons, really. The case, once you take off all the paneling, it's basically just a chassis, and it's super easy to be able to do your cable management. You can reach pretty much every single plug on the motherboard, even with this great big cooler installed. So it made building it an absolute dream. The cooler itself has really kind of inspired me into air coolers going forward. The LCD panel looks absolutely amazing in the system, and it works beautifully too. You do need to install the Deepcool software, of course, but that's only a bit of a benefit really, because that software is actually pretty good. And you can pretty much change the LCD to your temperature of your CPU, or you can change it to the core megahertz of the CPU, so you can kind of see what's going on in there, and it really does fit into this case really nice. I haven't installed any additional fans, but the one thing that did impress me as well with the power supply was actually its cabling. I don't know what Deepcool did, but I was a little bit worried about the cabling to begin with, because we've got such a tight space in here to be able to hide things away. I was worried that if the cables were kind of like really rigid and thick, that you're going to be able to see a big mess inside the case. But for me, Deepcool actually produced cables that I don't even really know what they are. It's kind of braided, but it's not braided, and they're super tiny thin, so you can pretty much flex them around to whichever angle you want. You can get super tight corners on it, and everything just fit in perfectly fine. When I actually said that we were building this system though, I did say that it would be compact. I think we've got a check mark on that one. It is a very little compact system. And I also said that it would be capable, and this system definitely is. So let's check out some benchmarks. So as you can see from the benchmarks, this system performs exceptionally well, even though the parts inside of it probably wouldn't even cost you that much. The whole system in total would cost you roughly around £600 to £650. Some of the biggest expenses, of course, being the graphics card, the CPU, and the air cooler itself. But to me, that's a bit of an investment there because it's going to last you a very long time. You can easily upgrade this system as well. There is an upgrade path to it. It's got the 12600KF in it, which is not the fastest CPU this motherboard can take. It will take up to a 14900K. You probably wouldn't want to run that on a very basic motherboard like this, but it does give you options. Something like the 12700K would be an amazing CPU to upgrade to in this system, and it wouldn't really cost you that much in the future either. But overall, the system performed exceptionally well, particularly at 1440p. I was a little bit surprised at the power that this RX 6700 actually had. Even though we did need to turn on a few tools from AMD, like frame generation maybe, upscaling, stuff like that, it was reasonably performant even without it, but we managed to actually get some really playable experiences by enabling them, and why not? They are tools there for you to use to be able to boost graphics cards like this up to playable experiences in those higher resolutions, and that's exactly what we did, and it did fantastic. Let me know in the comments below what you think of our little compact system and the performance it gave. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because we're going to be doing more builds just like this going forward, and I'm sure as always, catch you guys in the next one.